lower weight classes in MMA are absolutely on fire right now, and this is a fight that you can't miss between the Cannibal Alexandre Pantoja taking on Bullet Askar Askarov. Matt, there's so many different ways that I could start this video. I'm going to say this and lay it out there now. Hipster pick here. I was a big Askar Askarov guy back when I was watching a lot of ACB, back when I was on the Piotr Jan train. Now all of a sudden, UFC bantamweight champ. So Askar Askarov, undefeated on the regional scene, ACB champ, took on good competition there, comes into the UFC, and his first fight was against the assassin baby Brandon Moreno, who we cannot hold in higher regard here with Fight Night picks. I think he's going to be the champ by the end of the year. I think he's beaten Figueiredo Joseph Benavidez.
Let's calm down a little bit.
Benavidez. Spoiler. But in this fight, it's really interesting because Askarov had that fight in his debut against Moreno. It was close. It ended up a draw. You could make a case for either guy, and we will sooner or later in this video, but you can make the case. Then he fights Tim Elliott, which was relatively predictable. He beat old squirrely Tim Elliott. So you get that out of Askarov. You know a couple things for sure. He'll switch stances. He throws wide looping shots to close the distance to take the fight to the ground. He's a guy that has a win by twister on the regional scene, which you don't normally see unless you're Bryce Mitchell or the Korean Zombie. So that's what it is, and that's what we get. Alexandre Pantoja is one of the scariest guys you can face at 125 that you don't hear enough of. I don't know if it's the fact that he's from Brazil. I don't know if it's the fact that, he doesn't fight that often. I don't know what it is. But this is a dark horse to win the belt as well. I'm high on Moreno. This is a guy that sent Moreno to the regional scene.
Beat him on the Ultimate Fighter as well, so he kind of has 2 wins.
It was a one-off to LFA, but still, you know what Moreno looks like right now? Well, Alexandre Pantoja didn't really slow down, and his one loss was to Devison Figueiredo, who's fighting in this main event coming up. His one loss recently. We look at the wins. Moreno beat the brakes off him. Then he fights Ulka Sasaki, finishes him. Fights former title challenger Wilson Hayes, finishes him, loses to Figueiredo, and then his last fight, a lot of people were high on Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell thought he was going to bring back the flyweight division with exciting fights. It was exciting because Alexandre Pantoja finished him. The only thing was, it sucked. It was too early on that card. And that card was a great one if you want to go back and watch UFC Busan. Air Jourdain beating a tough out in Doo Ho Choi. But I digress. This fight's interesting. We can break it down from a lot of different ways. But with Pantoja, there's a lot of different things you have to worry about. He can submit you. He can power punch. He can land volume. He does so many things well, whereas Askar Askarov's probably just going to keep going to the well because it works for him. I mean, his ground game is arguably second to none at flyweight. I can't think of a guy who
has his back for at least 10 minutes.
Way better at grappling. Moreno had success. Demetrius Johnson would. There's guys out there, but Askar Askarov's so good at one thing, whereas Pantoja's kind of a jack of all trades, but he's so good at everything. What do you make of this one? Because I know you're as excited as I am.
Oh, yeah. This fight, arguably, I'm as excited for this as I am for the main or the co-main event, just because I hold Pantoja in such high regard. Not to say they don't with Askarov, but Pantoja versus Figueiredo, I highly recommend going back. That's one of my favorite flyweight fights ever. It was Fight of the Night, I believe, at UFC 240, and them boys just put it on each other. It was give one to take one. Pantoja, too, not a lot of proven finishers at 125. I know now, sort of with the resurgence of the division after we thought it might get cut, guys are going for that finish a lot more. You have guys like Figueiredo at the top of the division. Joseph Benavidez, say what you want about him, he's a little bit older, but he's still fighting for a title, and he is still a finisher. Pantoja, right there in that same category. Not afraid if the fight goes to the ground. He's a guy who I would put in that category of his striking is very, very good. His grappling, very, very good. It's just the wrestling is the only thing that he's kind of missing out on, but he's so good on the ground that he's not going to waste that much energy defending the takedowns. With Askarov, it might be a little bit different of a case just because they're both really good at grappling, and Pantoja might think he has the advantage on the feet, so he might want to try to keep that fight standing. Pantoja is not afraid to eat shots either, and that worries me just a little bit. Schnell was able to hit him with some good shots, but Pantoja just... and nothing against Matt Schnell, but on the feet, there's levels to this game, and Pantoja is a wicked striker, so it just took him a little bit of time to get his timing, and then once he did, just absolutely landed a bomb on poor Matt Schnell, so I think Pantoja does a lot of things better than Askarov, but like you said, I'm basically just repeating what you had said. Askarov does have that one thing that he can always go to, it's in his back pocket, and that's the wrestling, and interestingly enough, in the Tim Elliott fight, it wasn't really his wrestling that won him the fight. Yes, he used it, but it was the setups. It was the combinations into the takedown and the combinations again. And he was starting to do a good job at mixing it up. Whereas in the Moreno fight, he had a little bit of success on the feet, but Moreno was a lot of Moreno's going to throw volume, take you down, take your back, and then kind of rinse and repeat. So it's a very different fight than the Moreno fight for Askarov. Pantoja, though, I just don't see what Askarov does better than him over 15 minutes. If he out-wrestles him for a round, I don't think Pantoja really cares, because I think Pantoja always knows that I either need one punch or I need one scramble. That's all I need, because if I take your back, I'm a problem there, and as long as the fight's on the feet. I know Askarov throws good shots, he throws those nice straight punches, but if the fight stays on the feet the whole time, I don't see how Pantoja loses. I'm putting all my eggs in one basket right now, it sounds like, but I really do think Pantoja's maybe not the next champ, because I do think flyweight division is really good right now, but I do think he's going to be a guy we're going to start hearing a lot more of.
The one thing, if you want a saving grace and you're a big Askar Askarov fan, like I might be, and I like watching his performances because he's a really interesting fighter, and you don't get a lot of guys like this at 125, is the Pantoja fight against Dustin Ortiz, and that was only a few years ago. And Dustin Ortiz outlanded him on the feet, he took him to the mat, and just continued to rinse and repeat. So that's one of those ones that you definitely have to consider, and it was a decision loss for Pantoja. The other one, again, to a guy who's fighting for the belt for a second time and
it was
won it the first time. And it was a really good fight, too. If we look over at the odds, Pantoja's about a 2-1 favorite in this one. Over on Topology at 416 votes, 63% going Pantoja, 72% by decision. We've seen Askarov hang with some strikers before. We've seen him do a lot of funky things in the cage. What do you make of this, and what's your final prediction for it?
Okay, there's a reason Pantoja was going to step in if Figueiredo did have COVID-19. He's that good. Like, he's one fight away from a title shot, maybe two, just kind of depends on how the division plays out, but that's how highly the UFC thinks of him, and that's kind of how highly I think of him. He has a win over Brandon Moreno, who I think we can both agree is probably the next number one contender. He'll probably fight the winner of Benavidez versus Figueiredo, and Pantoja's right there on his heels. He has those 2 wins over Moreno, so let's say Brandon Moreno does somehow spectacularly win the title, which would be very nice to see. Pantoja, exactly. He's like, I've beat you twice, so it's a pretty good it's a good lead into a title shot. Everything's riding with Pantoja right now. I think he's the far better striker. I think the fight does hit the mat. Askarov's a great grappler, but it's not like Pantoja's some scrub on the mat. Like, he's as good on the ground as he is on the feet, and he is very, very good on the feet. So I think Askarov will have some success. The thing that really worries me about Askarov, though, cardio's not his strong suit. We saw that in the Moreno fight. Now, Moreno does have a really high work rate, so unless you do have that top-tier cardio, he's probably going to be able to tire you out, because the last round of that fight was what most people scored a 10-8, which gave it the draw, even though he kind of won every round. But Pantoja's not going to put it on you the same way Moreno is. Pantoja's going to wait, throw combinations. And the thing that I like that he does, Dan Hardy talks a lot about it, where Dan Hardy goes, pick your favorite 6-punch combination and always switch up, which is going to be the power shot in that. So maybe the second punch you throw with all power, and then the other 4, it's just volume. Pantoja's really good at that. He'll kind of, tap, 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 bomb, tap, tap, bomb, tap, tap, bomb. And he's good at switching it up. I think that's what's going to be able to get him the win, because Askarov has to get the takedown to win. Pantoja can get taken down and still win, and as long as the fight's on the feet, I do think he has the advantage. So I'm going to say Pantoja. I don't think he'll get the finish just because Askarov's such a tough opponent, but this is going to be a phenomenal fight.
Agreeing with you here, and also going with Alexandre Pantoja. And Matt, hopefully we get to see the trilogy fight between Pantoja and Moreno. You're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for the card, including an extended look at our main event between Deiveson Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt, and as we always say, let's get into it.